Hello, and welcome back to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about gunfighting the right way with Judeo-Christian values and worldview. As always, I'm your host, Michael Melito. Today we are going to be talking about the guns of Ruger. Before we get into that, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. Leave a review if you wish, and if you want to check out more, you can go to goodshepherdtraining.com. The links for all the other stuff, how to support the podcast, other podcasts that we do, see some pictures of the stuff we talk about. For a more visual person, you can go to goodshepherdtraining.com. With that, guys, roll into the bio, and then we'll roll into the main topic. If you want to skip to bio, you can generally skip to around 4.5 minutes. That'll get you somewhere close. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I make no apologies for that. It is first and foremost in my life, the greatest of all the commandments. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. I don't apologize for that. I am an alpha male, and as such I follow the ultimate male, the ultimate alpha male, the greatest man that ever lived, Jesus Christ. A little bit about my background. In addition to that, I am veteran. I've been to war. I served in both the United States Marine Corps in the infantry and the United States Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. Joined at 17, went to war more than once. I also served in law enforcement. I worked as a police officer in LAPD doing patrol assignments and more specialized assignments, tracking down fugitives and those kind of jobs. So by God's grace, I've made it through some nasty places and times overseas, and some dangerous streets in the States. Not because I'm better than any of the men that didn't, but because God chose to have mercy and grace on me. To God be the glory. I also served as a private contractor for the U.S. government, for an agency I won't specify. By God's grace, He got me through all that. In addition to that, I started competition shooting even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I've been blessed to win more shooting competitions than I can remember, both rifle and pistol. Mostly pistol are most of my competition and championship wins. But I have also competed in, muzzle loader, archery, shotgun, knife throwing, hatchet throwing. I've been very blessed with those talents, and I try and use them and multiply them. I've done quite a bit of hunting and outdoor, I guess we'd say, survival type activities, hunting and fishing all over this beautiful country. I have been a professional hunter and guide. Not many people today can see they've been a professional exotic and big game hunter of things like bison and exotic animals, but I have been one, and I'm very blessed for that. I've also gone out into the wilderness, by God's grace, with a Bible and a shotgun, and not just survived, but thrived. Also a professional firearms instructor. For the United States Marine Corps, I was an urban warfare and desert warfare instructor under a Mojave Viper. I'm also a FBI certified firearms instructor and have been for a lot of years. I'm certified by some other 3-letter government agency, NRA certified instructor, and I have taught at one of the big name firearms shooting academies in the country. So I've been very blessed to win many competitions and be a shooting instructor for military, law enforcement, and civilians. I have served as a commander of a tactical team. I served as a leader of a tactical team. Primary mission is to stop active shooters in a fairly large metropolitan area. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. Psalm 144 and Exodus 15. The Lord is a man of war. With that, guys, let's roll into today's episode. Today, this is an episode that I'm really excited about, the guns of Ruger. And one of the reasons I'm excited about it is it kind of brings back some nostalgia. See, the first gun that I ever bought with my own money was either a 12-gauge shotgun or this Ruger 1022, and I don't remember which. I was very young, was about the same time. I was not old enough to legally purchase a firearm, so I went down to Walmart with my mother, and she purchased it for me. And that gun is a stainless steel Ruger model 1022 all-weather. And I've had that gun ever since. And just tonight I was dry firing with it. Dry firing with the handgun. Dry firing with the Colt 1911 Marine Corps M45A1. Wanted to get some rifle dry firing in, so I grabbed that old 1022 that I've had since I was a too young to legally purchase a firearm, and it's sitting next to the front door. And I grabbed that and I dry fired with it. And I shot that thing when I was a boy. I shot that thing through many stages of my life. I couldn't recall the amount of squirrels and prairie dogs, whistle pigs, not to mention targets, and just going out plinking and teaching new shooters with it. How many times I've put sights on, taken sights off, put scopes on, taken scopes off. I think it's on its third or fourth stock. I believe it's safe to say that that is one of my wife's favorite guns to shoot. And who knows how many rounds that thing's had through it. And it's an awesome gun. And even before that, I guess, my father. I remember my father's go-to hunting gun growing up. His go-to everything gun, defense gun, hunting gun, was a Ruger Red Hawk in .44 Magnum. And later he upgraded to a Ruger Super Red Hawk, but I think he still liked the old Red Hawk better. But that stainless steel Ruger Super Red Hawk was often, on the center seat of the truck or on the dinner table. I often remember him walking through the woods with it in a shoulder holster, going deer hunting with me. Remember I would reload with him and I would cast lead. When I was very young, I would cast lead round balls for my slingshot, and he would cast .44 Magnum rounds. As I recall, 310 grain semi-wad cutters with gas checks out of a Lyman mold. It's funny how that kind of knowledge sticks with you. So I guess I have a little bit of a bias towards Ruger. And I guess that's okay, because we all have our biases, and I'm honest about mine, hopefully. But what Ruger does great, Ruger makes guns for blue-collar people. They make top shelf, good quality, innovative and reliable firearms made in America for the average blue-collar American that they can afford. And that's great. That's fantastic. And my hat's off to them for that. I don't get any kickbacks from them. I don't get any sponsors. I take no bribes. They don't give me anything for this. They're just a great company. I thought it would be worth it to do this episode on the guns of Ruger. And they've made so many great firearms and cool, unique firearms over several decades. So I figured we wouldn't open up and just go through them. I would go through by memory the ones that stood out in my mind since I was a young boy. Talking about that nostalgia, I remember back before the internet was really a thing. It may have existed, but people didn't really have it the way they use it today. The average person probably didn't have a computer in their house at this time. To learn about guns and gun stuff, the main way you did it, at least the way I did it back then, was gun magazines. I remember the Ruger catalog. And I remember at my father's house, next to the couch or the chair, there was a basket, and it was full of magazines, mostly gun magazines. And Ruger was generally in there. And I remember, I don't know how many times I looked at those same pictures, those Ruger guns back in the day, year after year. Maybe that helped to plant a little seed for my bias for Ruger and how much I like Ruger. But one of the really cool guns I remember in that catalog, and they only made it for a few years. Probably don't think of Ruger as lever actions, but they did for a short time make a .44 Magnum lever action carbine with that same rotary magazine that's great in the 1022. They made a lever action .44 Magnum. Always thought that was really cool. Or owned one. I don't know that I've ever even touched one. What a cool gun. And I think it didn't take off because it didn't look like most lever actions. It wasn't like a classic looking, cowboy gun. It looked like a Ruger 1022 just beefed up for the .44 Magnum with a very utilitarian lever. Kind of reminds me, now that I think about it, of a Savage Model 99, if you know what those are. But just a cool little handy carbine. Would have undoubtedly been a great brush gun. It's a really cool gun.
Short, handy, lightweight. The Deerfield carbine kind of has one of those classic followings. People that know them and have them generally love them. It is a semi-automatic 44 Magnum carbine. Light, handy, fast follow-up shots for things east of the Mississippi or for thick brush country. Fantastic, fast handling, awesome little carbine. Kind of also, again, looks like a Ruger 1022. Just beefed up for a 44 Magnum. And talk about a great putting meat on the table at close range rifle. That's an awesome little carbine, the Ruger Deerfield carbine. And the Ruger lever action 44 Magnum. What cool guns. There was another gun I remember from those old catalog days, and they didn't make this one. They stopped making this one quite a while ago. And it is the Ruger Red Label over and under shotgun. Now, lots of companies make over and under shotguns. And no doubt a lot of companies make higher end, fancier, or cheaper shotguns than the Ruger Red Label. Something Ruger has always done and always offered that I think is really handy for people in a lot of climates. Stainless steel. And they made this Ruger Red Label over and under shotgun in stainless steel. If you've ever been in a climate where things tend to rust, it seems, by just looking at them, stainless steel is great. And if you're like me and you don't just like to baby your firearms, but you take them out and use them hard, the idea of a beautiful over and under shotgun but in stainless steel is something pretty cool and unique. And to my knowledge, I don't know anybody else that has done that. They don't make it anymore, but if you can find one, what a great gun. Another gun I'm going to talk about that left an impression, the Ruger 1022. It's probably the most common 22 in American history as far as numbers sold. But Ruger makes a lot of good 22s, and one of them is the 7722, and it's got that classic bolt action, beautiful wood stock look. And they make models without the wood, but the classic blued and checkered wood stock. And they make it in a 22, and if I'm not mistaken, they probably make it or made it in a 22 Magnum. But they also made it, and may still make it, in a 22 Hornet. If you're not familiar with the 22 Hornet, it is in and of itself a very cool round. Probably could do a whole episode on it and its derivatives. It's basically one of, if not the smallest centerfire 22. Rimfire like your 22 long rifle, it's a centerfire, and it's nowhere near as powerful as a 223, but it's quite a significant margin more powerful than the 22 Magnum rimfire. And you can reload it, and you could probably load it down and load it customized, and it's still short and handy enough that it fits in this same size, this Ruger 7722. And I remember picking one of those up. I was with a friend of mine that I shot competition with way back when I was in high school. I remember just picking that gun up and how cool and handy it was, and just how well made it was for a little 22 like that. And that was late 90s, maybe 2000, maybe early 2000s. We were in the Marine Corps in 2001, so if that gives you any idea. But I still remember how cool that gun was. The Ruger 7722, and they make it in a couple of calibers. I wouldn't fault you if you got it in 22 long rifle, just to master the skill of riflemanship and bolt action rifles. That 22 Hornet is really something cool. That kind of ties into the next two cool Ruger guns I'm going to talk about, and these are current production ones. That same bolt action design, that Model 77 design, which is, if I'm not mistaken, based off the Winchester pre-64 Model 70 when they stopped making it the old school way and went to a cheaper way. Ruger, as I understand it, started making it kind of a way that they used to make the old quality Winchester pre-64. So it's based on the pre-64, which is based on, as I understand the lineage, the old Springfield Model 1903s, which in turn is based on a old school Mauser controlled feed action. So it's got quite a long lineage. But they make the 77 357 and the 77 44. So you get a bolt action pistol caliber carbine. Now the semi-auto AR based pistol caliber carbines are all the rage nowadays. A lot of fun, and they're great for a lot of things. But if you want a good handy hunting carbine in a Magnum pistol caliber, let's say you live east of the Mississippi or you live in some brushy area of California to hunt pigs, or Texas, I wouldn't fault you for picking either the 357 or the 44 Magnum. Both are great for medium-sized game. Maybe you want a little bit more power to the 44. Maybe you want to be able to practice economically, because those will both shoot the either 44 special or 38 special, and you can practice quite a bit and reload quite a bit, as in my opinion, the 38 special is one of the easier rounds to reload for. But it gives you the ability to practice and hunt and have a lot of fun, because shooting is fun. Let's not forget that. And how fun would that bolt action 357 be? What a good first deer rifle that would be for a young shooter. A cool handy gun that would be for around the ranch, for in the back of the truck, for just taking out to the range and having fun with, for hunting medium-sized game with out to 125, 150 yards. For a lot of people, especially east of the Mississippi, that's probably farther than you're usually going to shoot anyway. So those 77 357 and 77 44 mags, what cool handy little guns. And again, I believe they make them both in stainless steel. I know that they made the 357 in stainless steel. Now it's cool that those are both revolver calibers, but they chamber them in a rifle. The next thing I'm going to talk about is a pistol caliber chambered in a revolver. The revolver calibers are classics: 38 Special, 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum have a rim. They're designed for a revolver. But Ruger makes a revolver, the LCR. It's polymer framed like a Glock, but it is a revolver, which is pretty cool in and of itself. It does have some advantages. They make it in a 9mm, which is really cool, because if into shooting in the last couple of decades, you may have started with a Glock or similar striker fire polymer handgun, a 9mm, which is great. And you may have a bunch of 9mm. You may have thought you wanted a small concealable gun, and they make a lot of small concealable 9mm that are semi-autos. The revolver in close quarters combat has quite a few advantages. So if you want to step into that world and stick with the 9mm, the Ruger LCR in 9mm is really cool. Check that out if you want to look into that. It's unique in that it can fire with moon clips or without moon clips. They are a very neat gun. I don't own one just because I already have a couple of Smith & Wesson J-frames, and one of my main go-to carry guns is in 357 Magnum, and I'm just not going to switch just to be able to shoot 9mm in it. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me. But if I was buying one today, I'd give a good hard look at that snub nose 9mm Ruger LCR. Pretty cool gun. The next one I've talked about before in just cool gun episodes, but this one is really cool, and it is the Ruger Mini 30. If you don't know about the Mini 14, and I wouldn't fault you for getting a Mini 14, they're great guns too. I use them as a police officer. Not everything has to be an AR, guys. If you don't know, the Ruger M1 Grand kind of developed and changed into the M14, which was our service rifle for a brief time. And then Ruger scaled that down into the Mini 14, which is basically an M14 scaled down to fire 223. And they later scaled that same action to fire 7.62 by 39, which is the AK round. The Ruger Mini 14 and the Mini 30. What cool handy rifles. Is it going to be as fast in a competition as an AR? No. Maybe you're not concerned with split times. It's referred to, and I think Ruger refers to it themselves, as the ranch rifle. If you just want a back of the truck gun, a gun that doesn't look as tactical as an AR for, the gray man concept or for survival, or maybe you live in an area where you have to get one of these ridiculous California compliant, Massachusetts compliant, whatever Frankenstein ARs, and you could just get a Mini 14 or Mini 30. If you want a good medium-sized hunting gun or varmint gun, either the Mini 14 or the Mini 30 out to, let's say, 200 yards. Comes with good iron sights at points and shoots like a 10-22 or like a more traditional hunting rifle if you like that, but you want a semi-auto. They're great, and again, they come in stainless steel. And they also made one, I don't know if they still make it, but they also made one for a time in 6.8 SPC, which is a cool little round. But having one of those in 7.62 in stainless steel. That'd be a freaking cool all-around gun. My all-around, like, apocalypse anything rifle is a Scar 17. And I love that gun. That gun probably costs $5,000 right now with the optic I have on it. The Ruger Mini 30 is probably still under $1,000. Be my second choice if I needed an all-around go-to, hiking, hunting, survival, car gun, apocalypse gun. It'd probably be the Mini 30 in stainless steel if I didn't have a Scar 17. One of the other cool things is, and it might even come with more traditional scope mounts. You can mount a more traditional scope or a tactical scope, whatever you kind of want on there. It's just a cool all-around gun. Next, I don't think I could talk about this without talking about their revolvers. Ruger has a reputation for making good, affordable, beefy revolvers. In fact, a lot of reloading manuals, and I'm not giving you reloading advice, check your reloading manual, but a lot of reloading manuals give you a certain set of data, and they will give you hotter loads, meaning more powerful loads for Ruger, if that tells you anything about how strong their actions are. As I mentioned, my father had a Ruger Red Hawk in .44 Magnum, and the Ruger Red Hawk and the Ruger Super Red Hawk in .44 Magnum are awesome, big, beefy, double-action revolvers. Again, they make them in stainless steel. They're great utilitarian. I guess if you're going to refer to them in architecture, industrial chic kind of way. Overbuilt, beefy. They also made one for a time which was my favorite, and I don't know why they stopped doing this finish. They've always made them in stainless steel, which is great, but they made a 454 Casull model, which is a little bit beefier if you don't know about that cartridge in the .44 Magnum. But they made it in this gunmetal gray. It was still stainless steel, but it was like a dull gray graphite, kind of pencil graphite kind of finish. And I think those are one of the most beautiful handguns they've ever produced. So if you see one of those are gorgeous. And I have owned a few over the years, GP100s. I don't own one now, but I was not disappointed in either one. This one I bought was a 6-inch blued steel model, and that thing was super accurate. I kind of wish I had kept it. One of the guns that I, sold and later wish that I had kept. But it was just amazing. The GP100 is just like those .44 Mag Red Hawk and Super Red Hawks are great. The GP100 is a .357 Magnum. So if you want the .357 Magnum and an overbuilt, beefy, utilitarian gun, that'd be it. Check that out. They also briefly made one. It was a predecessor to the GP100. It was called the Security 6. That one was really elegant design. It was, I think, a very good-looking gun, and it was not nearly as heavy or as beefy. Still, I never heard of it having any problems handling the .357 Magnum. But those old Security 6s are just really cool guns, too. I don't think I've ever seen one in stainless steel. They may have made one. But there was a time when you could pick those up for a couple $100, and I think collectors have kind of realized what a cool gun they are, and they've kind of gone up in value a little bit. And talking about nostalgia, where we kind of began this episode, my first centerfire deer rifle that I saved up for, and I remember when I was a young boy, I was a lifeguard, and I was sitting in my lifeguard chair, and I would have this book, and it had ballistics data in there, and I would sit and stare at that ballistics data and look at it, and I had decided in my head, again, I still wasn't old enough to buy, this is quite a while after I bought my 1022, but I still wasn't old enough. Just saved up the money from that lifeguarding job, and I had my mom go down to a gun store and buy this Ruger rifle, and it was a Ruger, again, stainless steel, old what they call a skeleton stock or a Zytel stock or canoe paddle stock. Some people like them, some people hate them. They're kind of a collector classic now. Bought it in 7mm Remington Magnum. Great gun. Never even got to hunt with it because I joined the Marine Corps, and I said to my best friend, I said, I'm probably not going to be deer hunting for a while, so why don't you take this and hunt with it? It got stolen out of his brother's truck. So I never did get to hunt with that 7mm Remington Magnum. But it was a great gun. But I saved the best for last. My favorite gun of Ruger's, I think anything could be compared with that old 1022 that I have. It's just I have so many memories with it. But just from a standpoint of cool guns they've ever made, they make a Ruger 77, the centerfire bolt-action rifle. Make one called the International. and I just think they're some of the most beautiful guns, the International or the RSI, I think they're called. But it's got a full-length stock, kind of like the old Lee Enfields, kind of like an old European rifle, or a much older classic rifle where the stock goes all the way to the end of the barrel, and I think those are freaking gorgeous. Made one, the International, in 308. And I don't have one, and I've never had one. I think I've touched one of them. I think that would have to take the cake as one of the coolest guns, or the coolest gun Ruger's ever made. I think they made it at one time in stainless steel. I'm not a gun collector, but if I could get one of those, that would be a gun that I probably would buy. Even though I have hunting rifles that are probably more accurate, probably lighter than that rifle, I just think they are gorgeous. I think it'd be cool to have one as a go-to hunting rifle. Anyway, with that, guys, I think that we will wrap up this episode of Gunfighter Life. I hope you'd enjoyed it. Again, like, subscribe, comment, share this podcast with others if you liked it. If you like this, like the Guns of Ruger episode, then please let me know. If people like it, I'll do like a Guns of Colt, or a Guns of Remington, Guns of CZ. If you guys like more of the philosophical stuff like the last episode, and you want to talk more about tactics and training and that kind of stuff, let me know that too. Do this podcast for me, guys. I do it mostly for you to try and pass on the knowledge that I've been blessed with and the experience and training I've been blessed with. So let me know what you guys want. And again, if you like this podcast, you can check out goodshepherdtraining.com. It's got a link to the other podcasts, Alpha Male Podcast, Simple Man Sermons, if you care about the important stuff. Anyway, goodshepherdtraining.com. With that, guys, I want to thank you for staying tuned until the end. I'm very humbled that you listen. As a thank you, I'll throw out a tactical tip here at the end of the episode. We talked a lot about stainless steel guns. Stainless steel guns are good for a lot of reasons. One cool thing you can do to those stainless steel guns that's not going to hurt them is once you get your rifle set for the certain kind of ammo, and you can take the regular run-of-the-mill pencil and write on that stainless steel gun on the receiver, on the barrel, gun zeroed for this ammo at 50 yards is 1 inch high at 100 yards. Dead on again at 225 yards. You can write that in a little chart right on the barrel, right on the receiver. The pencil, if it's a stainless steel gun, and when that changes, you just erase it and write it back on. If you don't pick that gun up for a while, if that's a hunting gun and it's been a few months since you've touched it because you've been doing other stuff, when you pick it up, you don't have to wonder, oh, what is this sighted in for? You know, you're going out hunting and you're going to take the life of an animal. You ought to have some, or I guess, take some responsibility for being able to take that life cleanly and quickly and efficiently. And that's part of that. You should know where that gun hits. You should know the shot you can make and you can't make. So that's a tactical tip for today, guys. Take that regular old pencil and write on that stainless steel gun, and when you don't like it, use the eraser and take it off. Write something else on there. Write your favorite Bible verse on there. With that, guys, thanks and have a blessed day.